What if the timing meant more than the title? Because when you line everything up, the federal case, the house arrest in Utah, the sudden wife label, the marriage records, the silence through public humiliation, it stops looking like a simple love story. It starts looking like something more calculated. And the question isn't whether she loved him, the question is whether love was the only thing driving this. That's what makes Jaslyn Michelle's story different from every other woman in Youngboy's orbit. She didn't come in loud. By the time she entered the picture publicly around 2020 and 2021, Youngboy already had multiple children with multiple women. His relationships were documented, messy, and constantly shifting. Fans were used to new names, new drama, new babies. It was part of the cycle. Jaslyn didn't announce herself, she didn't beef online, she didn't compete publicly, she just stayed. And when Youngboy started calling her his wife, not girlfriend, not the mother of his child, but wife, people paid attention. That word carried weight he hadn't publicly attached to anyone before. Then came the tattoo. In Youngboy's world, tattoos are declarations, and Jaslyn leaned into the role. Family photos, domestic content, a calm and structured presence while everything around him was anything but calm. That presence was about to matter more than anyone outside their circle realized. Youngboy's relationship pattern isn't mysterious. It's documented and it repeats. Intense connection at the start. Heavy commitment language fast. Tattoo. Title. Public declarations. Then slowly, new women, new rumors, new complications. The same emotional cycle running on a loop. It happened before Jaslyn, and it didn't stop after she arrived. But the key difference with Jaslyn wasn't the love. It was the timing. In 2021, Youngboy was facing serious federal charges. Weapons cases with real legal pressure, and the possibility of actual prison time. He was eventually placed under house arrest in Utah with strict conditions. No touring, no club appearances, limited movement, court supervision. When you're in that position, every part of your image is under scrutiny. Judges evaluate lifestyle, they look at stability, structure, environment, responsibility. They assess whether someone appears reckless or grounded, surrounded by chaos or by family. And right in the middle of that house arrest period, Jaslyn's role became more visible than it had ever been. She wasn't just a girlfriend anymore. She was presented as a partner, a wife, the mother of his children in a stable household while he was confined and supervised. The visual shifted, more family content, more domestic routine, less of the unpredictable energy that had defined his public image for years. That narrative carries weight in legal settings, whether it's intentional or not. There's no public document confirming the marriage was arranged for legal advantage. No official statement says that. But the sequence is what sparked the theory. Federal case, house arrest, public wife title, marriage records surfacing in that same window, and Youngboy, an independently wealthy artist generating hundreds of millions of streams annually, with master ownership and a multi-million-dollar operation built before he turned 25, suddenly presenting a stable family image at the exact moment stability mattered most to how he was perceived by a court. Being the wife in that world isn't just emotional. It's structural. It's legal attachment, financial security, asset access, and long-term positioning that no side relationship carries. And Jaslyn was documented, visible, and consistent at precisely the moment all of that mattered. So, was it love? Possibly. Was it also strategic? The timeline suggests it was at minimum convenient for both of them, which makes what happened next more complicated, because the house arrest ended, the legal pressure eased, and the pattern came back. It didn't announce itself dramatically. It came back the way it always does. Subtle signals first, Instagram follows, women posting in locations that matched his, indirect captions, the usual signs that fans had learned to read over years of watching his relationships unfold publicly. And then the timing got reckless. Jaslyn had just given birth, fresh postpartum, physically recovering, emotionally adjusting, sleep-deprived, trying to hold a household together while her body was still catching up. That window matters. And right inside that window, another woman posted Youngboy in a context that didn't leave much room for innocent interpretation. Not a vague sighting. Someone connected. Someone within the extended circle who knew exactly what posting that would trigger. The internet exploded instantly. Screenshots spread, blogs ran with it, fans flooded Jaslyn's comments tagging her, asking if she'd seen it, pressuring her to respond. For the first time, her silence didn't feel calm. It felt heavy. And people started noticing something subtle. Her posting slowed. The tone shifted, the energy changed. Nothing dramatic, just enough to show she wasn't unaffected. That small crack in her composure told the story her words never did, but she didn't go live. She didn't expose texts, she didn't run to the blogs. That's not naivety, that's not weakness, that's a decision. Because in the social media era, the moment you publicly break down, you lose control of the narrative. Blogs twist the headline, the internet picks sides, comment sections turn brutal. Suddenly, you're no longer the wife, you're the bitter one. Once that label sticks, it doesn't come off. Jaslyn never allowed that to happen. Through cheating rumors, through side chick whispers, through other women posting indirect messages, through postpartum humiliation in front of millions. She said nothing that gave anyone a usable reaction. That's discipline. And in high-profile relationships, discipline is power. By staying silent, she also forced Youngboy to sit in his own behavior publicly without her helping him spin it. She didn't argue, she didn't distract from it, she didn't give his fanbase a reason to redirect their attention toward her reaction. She just existed, and sometimes that absence of reaction is louder than anything she could have said. There's also a practical layer that people try to simplify when they ask, why doesn't she just leave? She's not just a girlfriend who can quietly exit. She has children with him, plural. That means she's permanently attached to his orbit regardless of relationship status. Co-parenting, legal ties, financial ties, public ties that don't dissolve with a breakup announcement. And she's legally married to a man whose empire generates generational wealth independently. Walking away from that isn't packing a bag. It's restructuring an entire life, hers and her children's. The financial security she has access to as his wife is real, and protecting that for her kids isn't shallow. That's survival logic for a young mother in a high-profile situation with no easy exits. So when people reduce it to, she's staying for the money, they're missing the full picture. It's not just money, it's the accumulated weight of children, legal ties, identity, years of her adult life built inside this relationship, and the reality that her position as wife gives her something no one else in his orbit has: documentation. Side women come and go. The wife stays on record. That's leverage, whether she planned it that way or not. But here's where the calculation gets harder to maintain. Love and strategy can coexist, but they pull in different directions when the strategy stops serving the emotional reality. Youngboy hasn't changed his pattern. Not during Utah. Not after the legal pressure lifted. Not after the postpartum moment. The intensity, the fast commitments, the public declarations, and then the distractions. That cycle predates Jaslyn, and it continued through her. He may genuinely love her in his own way. His lyrics have suggested real attachment. His behavior during house arrest showed closeness. The marriage wasn't fake, but love without consistency produces a specific kind of exhaustion. The kind that builds quietly until something shifts. Jaslyn is no longer the young woman who quietly stepped into chaos to see where it led. She's the legal wife, the mother, the woman who was the documented anchor during his most legally vulnerable period. She was there when it mattered most to his image and his freedom. That history gives her standing that none of his other relationships carry. Her next move won't be impulsive. It won't be a live stream or a blog exclusive or an Instagram story posted at 2 a.m. Whatever she decides, whether she stays and redefines the terms, or she begins the process of separating from a situation that has repeatedly cost her publicly, it will be deliberate, because that's how she's always moved. Quietly, carefully, with more awareness than people gave her credit for. Youngboy has shown us exactly who he is across years of documented behavior. The next chapter of this story belongs to her. And the only real question left is whether she decides this version of love is enough, or whether she finally decides she deserves something that doesn't require this much silence to survive.